transaction success rate dropped to 10% of normal, 47 minutes of failed payments. The cause? A single Ansible task using state, latest silently upgraded Nginx across the fleet, changing TLS defaults that broke the payment gateway handshake. Let's break down Ansible basics, how it works, and the exact mistake behind that failure. Ansible is an open-source IT automation engine that eliminates manual work for configuration management. It's agentless. It connects via SSH and pushes declarative instructions written in YAML. This means no software to install on managed nodes, reducing attack surface and operational overhead. Ansible has three core concepts. Inventory lists your servers, playbooks describe the desired state, and modules are the tools that enforce that state. Idempotency means running the same playbook 100 times produces the same result as running it once, but only if you use proper modules like apt, template, and service instead of shell. For production control nodes, install Ansible inside a Python virtual environment. This gives you version pinning, isolation from system Python, and easy upgrades. The apt method is simpler, but version lags. Always pin your Ansible version to avoid surprises across environments. Here are the three installation methods. The recommended approach is the pip virtual environment method. After installation, configure Ansible, CFG with host key checking equals false, pipelining equals true, and forks equals 25 for better performance. Then create a test inventory and run Ansible all-mping to verify. Ansible's architecture is simple. A control node runs playbooks against an inventory of managed nodes over SSH. The control node is a single point of failure. In production, run Ansible from a CI/CD platform or multiple control nodes. The SSH connection pool is the bottleneck. Tune forks and enable pipelining for better performance. Not every task needs a playbook. Ad-Hoc Commands let you run single module operations directly from the command line. They're ideal for read-only queries, one-off changes, and emergency responses. But they leave no audit trail, so always log them with script or T. Here are common ad-hoc commands. The ping module tests connectivity. Command runs any shell command but always reports changed. Copy is idempotent even in ad-hoc mode. Service manages daemons. And the emergency install command uses state equals latest, which is exactly what caused the incident we'll dive into later. Modules are the building blocks of Ansible. The most common ones are apt, copy, template, service, and file. Always use the dedicated module over shell or command to preserve idempotency and check mode support. The shell and command modules always report changed, making your playbook output noisy. Here's a playbook snippet using the top modules. The apt module installs a specific version. Template deploys a Ginia 2 template. File creates directories with proper ownership. Service ensures the service is running and enabled on boot. Notice the notify keyword. It triggers a handler only when the config changes. A playbook declares desired state. This first playbook installs Apache, creates an index. HTML deploys a virtualhost config and ensures Apache is running. The handler restarts Apache only when the config changes. That's idempotency. Always run with check diff before the first real run to see what would change. This playbook installs Apache, creates a custom index. HTML deploys a virtualhost config and ensures Apache is running. The handler restarts Apache only when the config changes. Run it with Ansible Playbook inventory Apache, IML. The first run changes state. Subsequent runs report OK, that's idempotency. The check flag runs a playbook in dry run mode, reporting what would change without making changes. Combined with Diff, it shows exact content differences. In CI pipelines, use this as a validation gate. If the dry run shows unexpected changes, halt the pipeline. This would have prevented the Nginx upgrade incident. Here are practical check mode commands. The first dry runs a playbook against staging. The second limits to a single host. Capture output with T for review. grep for changed tasks. In CI, count changed tasks and fail if above a threshold. This pattern catches accidental mass changes before they hit production. Ansible has 22 levels of variable precedence. The lowest is role defaults, the highest is extra vars. Misunderstanding this order leads to subtle bugs. For example, a stray E in a CI pipeline can override your entire inventory. Use the debug module to print variable values at runtime. This example shows precedence in action. The playbook sets app port to 8080, but setFact overrides it to 9090. If you pass E app port equals 9999, that wins. For dictionaries, use the combine filter with recursive equals true to merge instead of replace. Always validate critical variables with a debug task at the start of your playbook. Roles enforce modularity through a file system structure. Use Ansible Galaxy init to scaffold a role. Wire it into a playbook with a single include role call. Roles make your automation reusable and testable. A monolithic role is just a playbook with extra steps, split responsibilities. Here's a playbook that composes 3 roles. The Common Packages role installs basic tools. The Web Server role installs and configures Nginx with variables overridden. The Monitoring Agent role only runs in production. Roles keep your playbooks clean and your automation modular. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. The playbook used state, latest for the Nginx package. On Monday morning, the package mirror served Nginx 1.26, which changed default TLS cipher suites. Payment processors rejected the handshake because they required specific ciphers that were no longer in the default set. 50 servers went down in 90 seconds. Using state, latest in the apt module causes Ansible to install whatever version the package mirror serves, silently upgrading Nginx and changing TLS ciphers. The fix was to pin the Nginx version to 1.24, using state, present instead of latest. This ensures the package never upgrades unexpectedly. Additionally, a check diff step in the CI pipeline would have caught the version change before it hit production. Always pin production dependencies to a specific version. This is the exact line that caused the 47-minute outage. State, latest installs whatever version the package mirror serves at that moment. In production, always pin to a specific version with state, present, and a version string like Nginx equals 1, 24. If you use setFact inside a loop without accumulating, the variable gets overwritten each iteration. You'll only keep the last value. Instead, use setFact, mylist equals, mylist default, plus item, with loop to build a list. Never stuff database config, web server config, and app deployment into a single role. If your role has more than one job, split it. A monolithic role is just a playbook with extra steps and a nightmare to debug. The article installs ansible-core = 2, 17, 4, but many community collections, e.g., Community General, are not included in Ansible Core. If you need those, install Ansible the full package instead. Also, Ansible Core 2.17 requires Python 3.9+ on the control node. Older Ubuntu 22.04 ships Python 3.1, so it's fine, but be aware if using older OS versions. The article mentions dynamic inventory plugins, but only shows a static inventory. Here's how to use the Amazon Web Services, OS-EC2 plugin to automatically discover elastic compute cloud instances by tags, which is essential for cloud-native environments. The article recommends pipelining equals true to reduce SSH connections, but this can cause issues with sudo if requiredty is set in etc/sudoers on managed nodes. If you see failed to set permissions errors, either disable requiredty or set pipelining equals false. Also, forks equals 25 may overwhelm small control nodes. Monitor CPU memory. To diagnose and prevent similar incidents, always run a dry run with checkdiff before production deployments. Use the debug module to inspect variable values. Test TLS handshakes with OpenSSL client, and check package versions across your fleet with an ad-hoc command. Let's run through some common interview questions. What is idempotency in Ansible? Running a playbook multiple times produces the same result, depends on modules checking current state. How does Ansible differ from Chef Puppet? Ansible is agentless, SSH, push-based, uses YAML. Chef Puppet use agents and pull model. What is the highest variable precedence? Extra vars passed via CLI overrides all other sources. And a few frequently asked questions. What is the difference between state, present, and state? Latest, present ensures package is installed but does not upgrade. Latest upgrades to newest version every run. Can Ansible manage Windows servers? Yes, via WinRM instead of SSH, but module support is less extensive. How do I test a playbook without affecting servers? Use check diff for a dry run that shows changes without applying them. Let's recap the key takeaways. Ansible is agentless, push-based automation. Use dedicated modules for idempotency. Pin package versions in production. Always run check diff before deploy. Ready to go deeper? Up next, serverless architecture explained, then cloud cost optimization and multi-cloud strategy. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.